We'll call the meeting to order at 7:02. First is our flag salute. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, thank you. Ms. Bollenbacher is not there yet. Mr. Chandler?
Here.
Mr. Choate? Here. Ms. Compatello?
Here.
Mr. Hof?
Here.
So thank you. Mr. Oliverio?
Here.
Ms. McCalnick? Is absent. Mayor Perry? Here. Solicitor Corbel? Here. Engineer Keenan? Here. Director Tedesco will only be coming to the second meetings from now on when we do reports, because he has a lot of other night meetings. Chief Ford is not here tonight, and myself, we do have a quorum.
All right, the consent agenda. So we have the council meeting minutes from July 24th and also the bill list from August 14th. Looking for and these are all on the OneDrive. Motion to approve August 14th, 2025 consent agenda pending bill list approval by the borough president, manager, and treasurer.
So moved.
So Chandler,
Second.
Ms. Compatello, any questions, comments, or discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Public comments on agenda items. At this time, citizens may address the Crafton Borough Council on any issue appearing on today's agenda. Only residents and taxpayers of the Borough of Crafton will be permitted to address the council. Comments on non-agenda items will be taken at the end of tonight's meeting. Speakers will be permitted to speak for a maximum of 3 minutes. Groups of people will be required to designate a spokesperson to represent them before the council, who may speak for a maximum of 5 minutes. Council has the option to respond or not at the end of the address. The solicitors are assigned timekeeper. Please state your name and physical address for the record.
There are no names on the top sheet.
Great, Washington. There you go.
Greg Wozniak, 1773 Bar Avenue. I have a question about the land bank, and the question is that should we become a member of the land bank, who is allowed to make application for a property? I know we have a list, and I imagine that list is just kind of a recommendation from us. We're not really the ones making application, or we can make application, I guess, but who is making application, and whether or not the person, are we committed then if a person does make application to a property in the, are we committed to follow through with the, dismissal of taxes and all the other conditions through the land bank?
Sorry, did you want to answer that?
Sure, I can answer. The way it works with the land bank is when you become a member, you get the borough will appoint a representative to their committee. It's not their board, but to their selection committee, and we have a permanent member on their selection committee. And then every year, I don't know what the timing is. I think we present them a list once a year, but it might be more than that. I'm not exactly sure. Do you know?
So for one of my other clients is in
Yeah.
the same land bank, and it's at least once a year, unless I think the number of properties goes down. They may come and ask you for additional.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I thought might be the case. So basically, we provide them a list of the properties that we feel are best suited. And those are properties, they want water type properties. They want properties that are really not going to do well on sheriff sale by themselves because they're too encumbered with debt, or they are just not ideal candidates for flippers or for other things. And then what they're able to do, then once that's on that list, we can still remove them at any time. The time that we cannot remove them is once they've gone to sheriff sale and actually purchased it. Now it's theirs. And they have hold of it until they dispose of it. And they are not incentivized to hold on to it because it costs them money to hold on to it. So they want to flip it as quickly as possible. So they want to keep it cleaned up and move it on, because while they're holding it, they have to pay to keep it maintained. They have to pay to make sure it's secure. And so their goal is to get rid of it as fast as possible and flip it as fast as possible, so that they're getting tax money back as well as us. So.
But yeah. Great, we have, and online, if you want to raise your hand to speak, you can do so now. We have Debbie Reagan.
Hi there, can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Debbie, you're able to go ahead and speak if you can.
She was talking, can't hear
Oh,
her. Sorry, the rules are.
Okay,
Hold
are
on
you,
one
able-
second, Debbie, we can't hear
Sure.
you.
our entire system was down for a little while here, so there's some weird things going on. Since everything else is lame.
are you able to hear me?
I think it is. Go to, here we go. Yeah. Go to
The audio tab.
Yeah. That's the right connection.
This is speaker, pick number 4.
Yeah.
Try that.
Debbie, can you speak again?
Can you hear me now?
There we go. Let's see how thank this we can.
Oh, okay, great. Okay, thank you. I have two things. One, the yoga in the park, which goes from June to August, is awesome and a wonderful program. I was wondering if they would be willing to extend it till September, or even start it earlier next year, maybe even in May. But it's a great program and I think well attended. The other thing is the Tricog Land Bank. I'm very concerned about us, committing in with these people. Looking up on them, their neighborhoods or communities that they have are in the east: Homestead, Turtle Creek, Glassport, Clarendon, Pitcairn, Braddock, McKeesport, Millville. They are not our communities. And one of their goals is to revitalize the neighborhood. Crafton does not need revitalized. We are a great neighborhood. A few concerns. Is there a income limit for applicants? Do they only look at low incomes? Another thing is 80% of the properties that they sell go to a nonprofit developer out of Clariton. Is that what we really want? Also, too, they had examples where they fixed up a home and they put in $200,000 and they sold it for $75,000. And the rest of the money was provided by PA Housing, financing agencies, and county funding. Another example, they had a house, they put $56,000 in for renovation and they sold it for $15,000. Again, it was, the offset was funded. Are they connected with HUD? Are they connected with the urban redevelopment? Habitat for Humanity? What are we signing up for? I think we need to do more research and have more transparency. Again, these areas that they are flipping right now, and they're not really flipping, they're buying them, cleaning them up. Some of them are not even habitable. They have to have a lot of renovation even before the person can move in there. So why do we even need them as the middleman? But Homestead, Clarendon, Braddock, Blonox, Dravosburg, McKeesport, those are all communities, not comparison to ours. What are other communities in our area using, like Greentree, Scott, Mount Lebanon? They too have abandoned properties. I think we do not want to rush this. And another thing is, when they sell it, they use a real estate agent who gets paid pretty easily because there's probably not that much work involved. It's just paperwork. I think that if you do go down this road, or with any land bank, and I hope you don't pick this company, but No member of council or any Crafton employee can be the real estate agent. They cannot benefit or anybody that they're connected with or family members. But I really hope you think about this. These neighborhoods are not our neighbors. Thank you.
Sure, I can start with this. This organization started in 2018 formally. And the reason that most of those houses are there for two reasons. They have the most blight in the county. And they also were where they were started. So the Tricog is the cog that represents the Mon Valley. So they represent three areas. They have been accepted by the county as the go-to source for land bank, which is why the county has not started their own land bank. They are using this as their land bank, and they're slowly starting to get members from across the region. Yes, we'd be the first one on this in this area of the county, but that doesn't make any difference as far as who they're selling to or where it's coming to. And I challenge that 80% are all bought by one developer. In fact, I think they sell 80% of their properties directly to final homeowners. I was trying to look up the numbers before you were done. And this is a nonprofit. They are completely transparent. All their board meeting minutes and all that information is up on their website. And Ann Lewis, who has been my mentor in the past, and is one of the most respected leaders in the county from a municipal standpoint. So.
Great. Anybody else online? Okay. President's report, again, lots of construction projects happening in the community, more already to come in the very short term, so please be patient with traffic detours. We're gonna have some night construction and it's gonna get messy, and it is, so patience is the key. Mayor's report.
All right, so about all I have to talk about tonight and probably for the next few meetings is all the exciting stuff going on at the police department. So in the next week or so, we should be seeing some really nice signage going in right when we come into the Borough building on the left and then over the station window. Also, a lot of cleanup going on down there. Public Works is being really helpful with getting some stuff going. And I'm just noticing a spring in the step of some of our officers because they're all getting to do some new things and they seem to like the responsibilities. I think there's a chief was saying that particularly, I mean, he has mentioned the new assignments that everyone are taking on and how positive our officers have been about doing that and very engaged. So that's my story.
Great. Great, thank you. Solicitor's report, Mr. Corbett.
Thank you, Mr. President. Just quickly wanted to announce that council held an executive session on Monday, August 4th to discuss personnel matters. And will hold another executive session following this evening's meetings to also discuss personnel matters. That's the end of my report.
All right, Birdtown, Pennsylvania. Nathan.
Hello. I'm Nathan Henry. I'm here to represent the Shade Tree Commission. We really wanted to start off by saying that, we've done a lot of work and we've planted a bunch of trees. And with a bunch of trees, that comes with habitats. And those habitats we often think of, especially with trees, is birds. And so in looking to further our outreach and make sure that we are increasing our awareness of our local habitats and our environmental impact, we looked towards the Audubon Society, and they came out and we had a couple of chats, and they provided us with information about participating in Birdtown. There are 50 communities across Western Allegheny, and they all combine to make a more educational and more ecologically sound neighborhoods, and we're all interconnected. And so we thought as a commission that this would be a great idea and join them and align ourselves with them and utilize a bit of their resources. And for this, all we would have to do is come up with a proposal, and I believe we have that. The council has that. And we would pay a $100 one-time fee, which we had covered due to the donation we got from the Betsy Ross Foundation. And so that would be covered. Most of this would be at the end of the day, what our commission already does. There's a lot of interaction that we have that would also be similar to what we would be doing anyways in Birdtown. And so there's a lot of crossover, and that's what we found was going to be the best for us to start sort of dipping our toes more into other environmental things that we can do to more benefit the community. If there's any questions.
And Kristen or Sarah, did you want to speak at all?
It's a good idea.
I like that comment.
I will say, having read through the resolution, it is very much not committing us to much at this point. So we can do and really attack as much as we want. This is a pretty light resolution. It's really just committing us to looking into the program and seeing what we can do to improve the situation for birds. So.
Right, part of it is that, and I want to correct two things. One is there's about 50 communities around Allegheny County. The state, I believe, is 50. And part of it is creating a habitat for birds. So it's having things like rain gardens, having things like the pollinator gardens that we currently have, but possibly doing more. In the shade tree, we're talking about some of those, looking at trees that are native so that those can be create habitats. It's educational projects for the public and for the residents to make sure they're getting educated how to best serve birds and to track them in a very humane way and to take care of them. There's the levels of green, bronze, silver, gold. So there's 4 different levels. We would enter at the green level, then you get constant evaluations. And there's signs that you can get, like this is a bird-friendly area, similar to like we have the Tree City. So this is through the Audubon Society, through Birdtown, Pennsylvania is where it comes through. And part of that is looking at trees that are snag trees and that they're okay, putting signs on the snag trees. I think Justin's going to have a snag tree in his front yard or front area. And $100 was contributed by Betsy Martin, who passed away a couple months
family.
ago. Yeah, now it's February. But she has donated that as part of her through her family, and that would be the one-time. It's a one-time $100 fee. And then you need to pass a resolution plus maintain the criteria that are there. And to get to the other levels, you have to do various other.
And in one addition, it also is very similar in how we already do with the Tree City, in which we do yearly give that report about what we had done, and that's what we would send in. And so at the end of the day, we're already doing a report, and so this would be one thing that we do in addition to that, and we send that off, and that's when we're reevaluated.
So I'll just add, I attended a session a couple years ago with you, John, at ALOM about Birdtown, Pennsylvania. And we got interested in trying to bring that here. Some of the things they talked about also included things like lighting, to be a good habitat for birds. We have to look at some of our lighting standards. I know that's also something that other residents have demonstrated interest in. Is that something that's been discussed at all yet?
Not all the criteria, and that's one of the things as part of it. And we're in the beginning stages. They do have representatives here in Pittsburgh who did attend our last shade tree commission meeting and go through some of the requirements and us on track. If you have any questions, just to go through And the maintainer of it would be the Shade Tree Commission. And possibly a subcommittee, which could be any residents that would want to get involved. And those are all.
I will add one thing about the lighting. We have, and I forget where we've discussed this, and it's been a while since we have discussed this. But there is an opportunity to purchase our streetlights. And because we currently rent them and we have been renting them for 120 years. I found documents back with Duke and Light more than back to 1905, I think they were. So we've been renting them for quite some time. But because we rent them, we have very little control over what they look like. If we buy them, now that LEDs are far cheaper, we should be saving. Right now, we pay about $95,000 to $100,000 a year to rent our streetlights. It'll probably drop to around $30,000 to $35,000 based on LED cost, the real LED costs as opposed to tariff costs, because we basically pay the rental fee that is set by the PUC, which is a state-run entity. So if we were to purchase our lights, we could then do other things with them. Like when we buy them, we could buy ones that are dimmable at certain hours of the day. We can buy them and we could have flexibility. So that's a real opportunity. That would be something that we could not only save money as a borough, but also gain control, gain some opportunities for control.
To add in general, a lot of those requirements are soft requirements. And so as you go down the levels and increase your, from green to gold and whatnot, there are certain requirements that they would like you to do, but these are more soft requirements. And so it's not necessarily you have to, put in different lighting. And this is something that you need to achieve the next goal. It's more of here's an idea for what other communities have been able to do. And so it's more soft requirements.
Any other questions for Nathan? We do have a motion on the agenda, and this would be approving a resolution for the Borough of Crafton, Allegheny County, Pennsylvania, adopting initiatives to be recognized as a Pennsylvania Audubon Council bird town.
So moved.
Mr. Chandler,
Second.
Ms. Costello. Any questions or discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. So with that, once we sign the resolution, you have to turn that in, pay the fee, and we will be a bird town. So more to come.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thank you, Nathan.
Take care.
Okay, managers report.
Okay, starting off with the land bank, we have a resolution up for consideration to join the land bank. The resolution 2025-13 to enter into an intergovernmental cooperation agreement or agreements with the other participating municipalities and taxing jurisdictions of Allegheny County for the purpose of joining the land bank. Now, I wanted to provide an update from last meeting. I know I emailed council members, but wanted to update the public as well. I had said that I thought it was around $5,000 a year as a flat fee or as a fee based on our prior year's taxes. It is actually about half that, or was about half that. We paid in 2024, we would have paid $2,700. In 2025, this year we would have paid $2,800. And I would estimate that next year we'll pay between $2,900 and $3,000. So it'll be about $3,000 a year to join the land bank on top of the additional charges that they take, which is half of the money coming back from the land bank taxes moving forward. So there are some fees involved, but just to give you an idea, the conservatorship that we have done alone, and I'll talk about that in a little bit, but the conservatorship that we have done just in legal fees is more than that. So it is a very affordable way to process dilapidated housing and get it back on the market. So with that, I'd like to call for a motion to approve resolution 2025-13, allowing the administration to enter into an intergovernmental cooperation agreement or agreements with other participating municipalities and taxing jurisdictions of Allegheny County for the purpose of joining the Tricog Land Bank.
So moved.
Ms. Costello.
Second.
Okay, Mr. Choate. Discussion and questions.
Based on Ms. Reagan's question earlier. Do we have any idea what neighboring communities are using to address blight? And if they are not using the land bank, why is that?
I would say that it just hasn't gotten to them yet. I would say that, the focus was in the area where they already had, the cog already works in those areas. And so they have slowly started to expand as they've had interest. There has definitely been interest from other areas. It's just a matter, you have to get 3 taxing bodies on board. So if we pass this and the school board does not, then we're not in the land bank. So there's still another hurdle. And I think that multitude of steps has been a hurdle. They really didn't start outreach beyond their area for the first 2 or 3 years that they were doing it. So they really have only been doing this since probably 2021 or 22, where they're reaching out to the greater area. What other entities are doing is still doing demolitions. A lot of municipalities have really leaned on demolitions as a way to get rid of blight. And or a few communities have done conservatorships themselves. Dormont has had a lot of success with that. And if you get to the point where you don't have any more blight, you leave the land bank. So there's always that opportunity as well. But that's generally what other communities have done. And frankly, this has been the reason this started in 2013. The Tricog area did a study called Blight to Bright, that was also funded by the state housing association, I forget the exact name of the organization. But it is a very common problem here because property laws are very much in favor of the property owner. And when the property owner is someone who's passed away or left, it makes it very difficult to claim that back. The land bank being able to dispose of those extra liens and taxes and get it back on the rolls faster is a really effective tool. Most states use land banks and in some form or the other, and ours is actually one of the better laws because it's more streamlined. It was developed later than a lot of the other ones were. And we based a lot of they based a lot of the setup, how it was designed on Cuyahoga counties, which is one of the more effective land banks in the country. The city of Pittsburgh has been trying to get one going and has had a lot of political issues. They've been trying to start one for over 10 years and haven't had any success, so.
So can I ask a couple of questions? So, do you have an idea of how many properties we would have on such a list?
Between 10 and 20.
Okay, so yes, we're not a totally blighted community, but we do have problem houses. And I know that as long as I started on council and started looking at our delinquent tax rolls year after year, and have asked, why can't we get these dead people off of this? And been told that there's just really no way to do it. And so, basically it sounds like this organization has experience. And the big thing is with these properties is getting the liens and the dead people's names off the property so that they can be moved.
Yep, and to add to that, some of our worst properties are in really nice, successful neighborhoods, right smack in the middle of really nice neighborhoods, and they've been sitting there for years. If you can get that back on the rolls as a house, everybody's house goes up in value. It just is, and we have them on Steuben, we have them on South Grandview, we have them on Fountain, they're all in relatively nice neighborhoods, so.
Well, it's because because all of our neighborhoods are pretty nice.
Yep, definitely.
I was going to say something fairly similar. As long as I've been in Crafton, and absolutely as long as I've been involved in commissions and committees, and certainly on council, that is one of the top issues I hear about every year. And one of the top issues we deal with in budget season every year. What can we afford to do with problem property that people are complaining about? It's typically a struggle to get, 1 or 2 demolitions a year addressed. And those are for properties that are completely unsafe. And this is an issue that we regularly hear about, and this is a solution that I have also researched, and this is a nationally recommended practice. This is a very well-known solution to blight, and it is something that many other communities are talking about right now at this and looking at the same solutions that we are exploring. It is an issue here in Allegheny County. It is an issue across Pennsylvania, and a lot of communities are having the same conversation. So I've done my research and I found all the same discussions being had and the same solutions being explored. So with all of the frequent requests to try to do something about, we have not a lot of blighted properties, but we do have some and they have an impact. And it's nice to do something to get them back into participating in the neighborhood.
In the event that when we join the land bank and say she mentioned a nonprofit developer and things like that, if they're developing or selling properties for way lower than we expected, or we don't like the developers that they're selling to, what's the process for us to be able to exit the land bank?
We just need to well, from a legal standpoint, maybe you can answer the question on how you exit. You have to cancel the ICA.
I think that's probably the best way to do it. So it would just be another vote of council, withdrawal basically.
Yeah. And also, we do have a voice. I mean, we're on that committee, and we do have say over who purchases ones, and when they're vetting developers, because they do like to sell to flippers, because flippers are effective, but they like to sell to local flippers like in the community or very close to the community, and people that have had a track record of being successful. And that way they don't have to invest in as much in the outset. The house still gets turned over, and they can even, when they do those, they can have clawbacks. So if that flipper does not do what they're supposed to do, and I'll talk about this in a minute when I'm going to talk about our conservatorship, then you can pull back the property and not, so if they don't do what they're saying they were going to do within 6 months or some time frame, then you can go back and pull that property back from them. The land bank would do that, but we would ask them to do it.
Do we have any idea if any of the Tricog Land Bank's members have ever decided to exit the land bank?
I don't think they have, but I don't know that for a fact.
And you said that's fairly recent.
It's
not-
really,
but
it's
I'm
really
curious.
relatively new, and the initial land bank members, the one that have been in the longest, have a massive amount of blight. So they are dealing with something that is going to take years and years and years for them to flip and turn over. So where ours are going to be more strategic, but they also, as she mentioned, have more value. Because when you flip a house on a street that has mostly dilapidated properties, it might raise the value a little bit. But when you flip a house on a street that is all developed properties and you're the only one bad property, that flipping that one house has a bigger impact.
Do you have any control over the resale value that once it gets to the flipper, whoever buys it, they can list it wherever they want to, so if they got a good deal on it, they can list it to move it quick and actually lower the value of neighboring homes.
Yeah, I don't think we do, but I could find out if there is the ability to do that, but I don't think. I don't think that is the case, but again, flippers are in the market of making money, so I would imagine that they would want to maximize their profits, but I don't know that is in the clawback. Or I don't know, could you write that in a clawback agreement?
I mean, you could require them to sell it at some sort of, you could require them to sell it at some sort of appraised value, assessed value, that sort of thing. You could put that in there. I don't know if the Tricog does that or not. All I know is in Forest Hills, which is not dissimilar to this community, is a member of the Tricog Land Bank. They are out east, but I would venture to say that they're not like McKeesport or whatever, communities Ms. Regan was talking about. And they submit, 2-3 properties a year. And they've always been very happy with the results. Back on the tax rolls, getting their unpaid taxes paid. It's been turning out pretty well for them. They've been in it for maybe 5 years now, I think 4 or 5 years. So anyway.
So I think it's worth noting that these are properties that are currently costing us money and losing money. So, I mean, regardless of what they sell for, whether they sell for a moderate amount or a high amount, that is all far outpacing what is currently happening.
Right.
which is that they get nothing from them and they actively devalue and drag down everything around them. Doing nothing would just allow that to get worse. So I also found the flyer. I have the flyer, the presentation that was given to us last time. So just to double check the numbers, 80% are committed to owner occupant as of their 2024 numbers when they sell.
Thanks.
It has a map of all the members, but it doesn't label them all. So you have to know your geography very well. Those two out here, that is Reserve and Belleville.
So I think, since I've been on council, I have heard that blight has been an issue. I mean, not just since I've been on council, but that's what I've heard. We've had residents come forward. We've had people complain. We've done things around Shaycog, where we've done some demolitions around the mayor's house. And other areas that we just didn't even get approved for. So these are locations that there are no taxes being paid. They're also attracting rodents and birds and all sorts of things. We've had residents come in to complain, and then we can't do anything about them. So we can either demo them or possibly go to the conservatorship or Shaycog, and that's a demo, and we don't know what happens, and then it becomes a vacant land. So I see this is not where we're taking people out of their houses and, you know, displacing them. These are properties that nobody has. We're not getting any tax money, and potentially they can be something nice that somebody can live in, and they come back on the tax rolls. So I'm finding a hard reason to say that we shouldn't do something like this, because logically it makes sense if we can get rid of our blighted properties. That's been a concern of residents for a very, very long time. So that might.
Jim, if you can, is the reason, is it an easier path going through with land bank than would be to how we're doing the Belvedere House conservatorship?
That's a great question, and that you had asked that question via email to me, Mike. I would say that I think we should do both and analyze it. I think this is a great opportunity to figure out which is better for us. I'm not sure. And I think this process of testing the one on Belvedere, and I'll talk about that in a little bit later, because we do have some news on that. That we do both and see what's more successful and then analyze it. And if 3 years into the land bank, we've only flipped 2 properties, and with conservatorship, we've flipped 5 or what have you, then I think that's a clear choice. But at this point, I can't really give you a good estimate on that, but they do also do conservatorship. So it might be that we say, you know, here are ones that are traditional land bank properties, but here are a couple that would be great conservatorship properties, and then they handle it. And then we don't have to, so.
So I was just gonna ask whether it could be a both and situation as opposed to an either or, that there are some properties that would be better candidates for conservatorship versus straight land bank.
But I
Okay,
think
thank
that's
you.
absolutely true. Yep.
Thank you.
I think the important thing to realize too is that in the past, we just couldn't do anything. There was too much legal things, and that's always been, what can we do? So we've tried the conservatorship. This is another option here, and this is moving it forward. There aren't many options that we can do relative to blighted properties because of the legal requirements. Any further discussion? Great, we have a motion on the table. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes.
Okay, thank you. I don't
Not yet.
think she has yet, but.
Yeah,
Okay.
let's should be on the list.
That's
Well,
us.
That's
Yeah,
us,
that's not-
yeah. It's only one, it's us. Okay, the next item on my list is a grant application. We are applying for funds from the County Gaming Economic Development for pool improvements in the amount of $228,719. The intent is to use this as a match for the DCNR application that we sent in earlier this year for the pool house. So this would mean if we were able to acquire this funding, we would get the improvements that we applied for free, essentially, or for no cost, that were very limited costs to the borough. The applicant is generally a new pool slide, which has been, we did Crafton did a study in 2013 that recommended replacing the pool slide at that time, and it has not been replaced, so it's 12 years overdue. It also includes a pavilion, some lawn games, and some other small improvements like air conditioning, the concession stand, and some other small improvements at the pool. But with that, I'd like to get, and this is just applying for it. This isn't approving the project or whatever. This is applying for the grants. But I'd like to get a motion to approve concurring resolution 2025-15 to apply for grant funding in the amount of $228,000, 719 from Allegheny County's Gaming Economic Development Tourism Fund.
So moved.
Second. Sorry, second.
Or Mr. Chandler? Discussion or questions?
So I just want to note, we did do some big updates to the pool property last year, and we are looking forward to trying to do some updates to the rest of the pool property, the pool itself. Do we know when we are likely to hear about the the application we already sent in, the DCNR one?
We hear that it typically happens at either the very end of the year or we applied in spring. It's either, did she say the very end of the year and the beginning of the new?
Yeah, like near the end of the year.
Yeah, so in the next few months or at the beginning, I think they did announce this year's in this year, is what I understood, but I might be wrong.
If for some reason we did not get the DCNR grant, but we did get this grant, if we had applied for it, same thing, it would go towards the same improvements essentially. We would just have a match then and
Right.
we'd be right back where we.
And we could always apply for the DCNR grant again. Now that we've applied for it once, we could go back, ask them why we didn't win. And then we would, have the same thing, it'd just be reversed. It would take, obviously, we wouldn't get anything built next year. I'm not, do you know when, I don't know when the GTDF funds usually come out. I don't know if you know off the top of your head. I think they are in the spring, but I'm not 100% sure on that. Yeah, so.
Any other questions or comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes.
Thank you. The next item is a long-standing item, the Honeywell property resolution, resolution 2025-16, authorizing the purchase of the southern portion of Baker Acres Trail for $5,000 plus fees. The funds for this purchase were received by the borough, not including the fees, just the $5,000 from an anonymous donor actually yesterday. And so this is the portion, the only portion of Baker's Acres Trail that we don't technically own yet. It's basically the strip of land where the trolley line used to be. That was owned by Pitway Trolley Company and is now owned by Honeywell Corp, who bought Pitway Trolley Company. And we hope to be closing on this next week if this is approved.
Fingers crossed Tuesday.
Yep, it only took, what, a year and a half? So with that, I'd like to get a motion to approve resolution 2025-16 of the Borough of Crafton, Allegheny County, authorizing the acquisition of property located on Chartiers Avenue and identified as Allegheny County lot number 68-L-275 for public park and recreation purposes.
So moved.
Mr. Chandler,
Second.
Mr. Hope. Any questions or discussions?
So just to be clear, this isn't costing us any money since we had an anonymous, well, or very little.
Yeah.
Okay,
Sundry fees.
okay.
It's actually closer to 2,300 if you include the hand money that we put in the first place,
Okay.
but yeah.
No more comments, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes.
Okay. All right, next thing. Are you dead? I have more batteries. I can use it. You go, try to just pull it. That's all I have is one, so you might have to make that work. Okay. Sorry, next item on the agenda scheduled vehicle purchase. This, I'm asking for approval of resolution 2025-17, authorizing the borough to enter into a lease agreement with Huntington Bank for the purchase of a Ford F-350 pickup truck and additional modifications for $71,000 and $71,031. This was budgeted for 64,500, so it's a little above what we budgeted, based on the borough's 5-year capital plan. So I will definitely increase those moving forward. But we also are selling a vehicle which was not budgeted for sale, so that should make up the difference in that case. This will bring, with another purchase that we have going through that we already approved the resolution on a few months ago. This will bring our fleet up to a more modern fleet. So now as we're selling vehicles, we will be selling them for a much higher rate and basically getting much more for our money. If you wait past 4 to 5 years on some of these vehicles, they sell for almost nothing. But if you sell them within that period, for example, police vehicles that we've sold in the past, we sold for about 15,000. If we sell the next police vehicle we sell, we'll probably sell for around 30,000 because we're rotating them out in a newer condition. So. Did I already call for the resolution? Yes. No, sorry. Go ahead. Can I ask for a motion to approve resolution 2025-17, authorizing the borough to enter into a lease agreement with Huntington Bank for $71,031 for the scheduled purchase of a new Ford F-350 pickup truck.
So moved.
Mr. Chandler,
Second.
Mr. Choate. Okay. Any questions or discussion?
What is the gas mileage on a truck like that? Are we picking something that has any kind of long-term value?
No, and I will say, we actually, when we had our vehicles assessed through the EV program, they actually are not recommending going with the EV trucks, the EV program, just because they haven't proven to be as effective as what they had hoped. They are recommending it for code vehicles and for police cruisers, but not for pickup trucks.
Not for trucks.
Otherwise, these vehicles are generally not very fuel efficient.
Why are we selecting a truck? Is there a use that requires a pickup truck?
Yeah, this is, it allows for a smaller plow so that the other trucks are all F-550s and you need to have some smaller trucks to do some of the smaller, more intricate work in parking lots and alleys and things like that. Plus, if you're just for day-to-day work, if you don't need a dump truck, it's better and easier to use a pickup truck. We have 2 pickup trucks rotating on our fleet. And this one the current one is from, I want to say 2011. So it's pretty long in the truth. And now they will be all within 5 years. I think the rotation schedule for pickup trucks is 5 years. For dump trucks, it's 8.
What is the vehicle that was not budgeted but is now for sale? What are we quoting?
The pickup truck that exists now, the 2011. So we won't get much for it. We'll probably get 5,000 for it.
So we had budgeted to purchase the new vehicle.
Correct.
That was in our budget, but we had anticipated keeping that other vehicle, and now we're not.
To put it in the budget. It's failed to put the sales price in the budget.
So we had expected we wouldn't need it, and we
knew we were tricked. I had just failed. Like there's a line in the budget for vehicle sales, and I had added in the police vehicle and had not added in this one.
I just may be reading the verbiage wrong, but
yeah.
So lease agreement, but with the bank, does that even purchase it? We're still purchasing the vehicle, not leasing it, correct?
No, we're leasing it, but the way municipal leases are different.
Okay.
Municipal leases are really purchases. It's really just the only financing option that you have. When you're done with a municipal lease, you own the vehicle.
Okay.
And you don't pay anything additional, or maybe $1, but it's no. I don't think there's any cost. I think it's the last payment you're done. So we own vehicles when you lease them. And the reason we did it in this case is we don't buy these every year, so it's easier to spread them out.
Right.
So that you have an even monetary hit every year.
Makes sense.
Yep.
Thanks.
Any other questions?
Do we know when the older pickup truck would be sold or go up for sale?
That's a great question. And a reminder that this is the first stage when you buy a truck. You have to get the lease first. We are buying this from Laurel Ford. Once we bought it, we still have to send it to A&H for fabrication, in which case they'll do all the work to put on the salt spreader, which is the main additional cost. I think the truck was 59,000, and then a salt spreader and the equipment for the plows. That's the additional stuff that has to happen. My guess is they typically take a few months. We might not see this until the new year, then it'll actually get purchased, but I'm not sure on that yet. And we're also purchasing as a previous one, they both came in last week. The dump truck that we had approved a resolution 4 months ago has come in. Those also have to be outfitted with the actual dump. That I would guess that takes longer, but I'm not 100% sure. They're going to the same place. They're going to go to A&H equipment to get upfit.
So once we have delivery of the final modified truck, then we are able to sell the other one, because we can't sell one if we have the replacement.
Perfect. So we'll probably, so it might not make it on this year's budget. There's a small chance that it doesn't make it on this year's budget, that we get the money back. Right.
So I see the modification amount, which was slightly more than we had budgeted for.
Yeah.
What about the lease amount?
This is the lease amount. And that is 71,000 is the lease amount.
Oh, that's modifications and the lease.
Yeah, that's the whole thing. So the lease is, the lease we get from the bank. It covers both the purchase of the vehicle and the modifications.
Got it. And all of that is spread out over those 5-year term of the lease.
3 years.
3 year.
Three years.
Okay.
Yep. And we do it so that we pay the least amount of interest. We make an immediate payment when we do it. So we chop off with very little interest, the first payment right away. So we'll actually pay the first payment on this lease before we get the vehicle. But then that way we're only paying and because you could spread it out monthly, but then you're paying interest every month. And I figured out the math, we save about $1,000 if we I think it's about 1,000 if we pay it right away. But that allows us to have it spread out in those 3 years.
And so then also just clarify the $6,500 and some change that was not budgeted for, that is not hitting our budget this year. That's spread out over the life of the lease
So
over 3 years.
2,300 will be the perfect, whatever it is, 2,100.
Questions or discussion? All right. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, motion passes.
Okay, and the next couple items on are just information. As we've discussed, the budget process is ongoing. Really, it's right now we're creating the draft budget and decision options. I've met with the fire department. I've met with Public Works. I'm going to meet with the police chief next week. I wanted to wait for him to get his, feet on the ground before he starts talking about what he wants to spend next year. And then I will give my first presentation on that at the next meeting. And then we have the budget meetings there on the schedule from September 11th to December 11th. I would like to, Carissima reminded me that if we make a decision on whether we have the Thanksgiving meeting or not, today we can save money because we have to advertise it. So it would be best if we could make that, decision now. On whether we
today?
have it. Yes.
I don't know if I can do that.
Because that saves us around $500 to make that decision today. And then we've canceled it the last 2 years in a row.
Can it be at the next meeting?
No, because we have to there's 2 things we have to advertise, and I forget what the other thing is, but we're trying to lump it together so we don't have to. We want to advertise them separately. So it'd be best if we could make it today, but if we don't, we just have to pay that extra. We have to pay the extra fee.
Because we also have to do the Christmas meeting too. So we have the Christmas Day meeting and the Thanksgiving meeting that will need redone.
Right, and so we'll have to advertise, maybe that's what it was, she wanted to advertise that one too, but I thought there was something else. I'm sorry, I don't remember what the other thing is.
My preference would be that, and I wrote a note as you were talking, to just poll council on the dates for November. And then same for December 25th and see what works. Sometimes we cancel that Christmas meeting week if the budget
This will
is
be my
not.
10th year, and we have never met on that last meeting.
Right.
How many, I had this question actually a few meetings ago, how many budget workshops do most municipalities do?
I don't know the answer to that question.
We've been doing these the past few years and we typically do not need the last few.
Yeah.
And I was curious how we compare to other municipalities. What is the common cadence of budget meetings?
And what, do you have a answer on that? You probably the best. Yeah.
It's across the board, honestly. Some have a couple, some have, closer to one or two a month. I think you guys are probably on the higher end of the meetings, at least that are scheduled. I mean, I think you're pretty average on how many you actually, use. But again, it's not unusual. But you are right. I think my experience in the last 5 years has been towards the end, that those budget meetings are usually unnecessary and not held, or they're very short because it's just Jim's providing, or whomever before Jim was just providing, short updates as to what may have changed in the interim. And it's usually not the full hour or half hour long. So
Procedurally, what is the difference if we have a recap and some discussion of budget during council meeting versus a separate workshop? If we're,
there's no,
addressing some final questions, or if there's one or two things we're still reviewing, like what is the procedural difference between a workshop versus an updated discussion in council?
the workshop is just, there's usually just a single topic. But you could just have an agenda item to talk about the budget at the council meeting too. You could do both. But I do know that the presentations and the discussions are pretty extensive in the early running. And that,
Right.
I think that's why they've done that's why the workshop started, to dedicate that time. And then the public could come if they just want to come to the meeting and deal with the regular stuff, they could come to that different, so. Again, it's really up to you all. You can skin this cat a bunch of different ways.
Well, in budget workshop aside, we also will have to reschedule the council meeting because the council meeting falls on Thanksgiving. So budget meeting and council.
Well, you don't have to have your law says you have to have one council meeting a month. So you don't technically have to have a council meeting at the second time in November or the second time in December.
Would we not have to advertise though if we were canceling something that is typically held?
If you're canceling, we just put it on Savvy Citizen, post it on the website, on the door that it's canceled. You don't have to legally advertise it. If you change the date of the meeting, you have to advertise it in the newspaper.
I would say that given that meeting is so close to the budget, and given there have been changes at the last minute to the budget right before the meeting, finding something, looking at different things. Also, the finance committee meets right before that. So I would highly recommend that we continue that Thanksgiving meeting along with the budget workshop, just to make sure that we have everything squared away. Remember that I think it was the council meeting early in December where there was a last minute change at that meeting itself, and that wasn't very good, so. So I think,
Do we continue having a council meeting on Thanksgiving?
no, we would have a different day. We pick a different day.
Well, then if we are moving it, that's the advertising
Right,
cost.
yeah.
And if we're doing the other thing, you could save money if you pick a date today.
Right. But like I said, I'm not prepared to
Okay.
look at a date today, so I think everybody needs to look at their schedules and look at some options, and then we can come back to the next meeting. That's why I took a note to say what would be a good meeting date.
Can you remind me how far out we have to advertise if we're gonna change?
Oh, it's only a week, right?
No, if you just have to put the preliminary budget out, and then you can make whatever changes you want without
No.
re-advertising.
I'm talking.
Oh, a meeting? Yeah, it has to
We're gonna-
be
if we're gonna-
advertised 24 hours in advance of the meeting being
So
held. So you have a lot of time.
Right, so it's
just a-
do it now, we could get much closer before we make a decision about whether we're just gonna cancel it.
Yeah,
Or,
there's something else that she wanted to advertise at the same time, and I'm sorry, I can't remember.
yeah, but so she's got something she has to advertise. And council has said, we're not prepared. And I'm just saying, if we wait longer, we might be able to cancel.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I don't think the goal is to cancel because we have bills and other things that we need to pay. I think the goal here is to, and look at that budget for the one last time before the final council meeting.
But you might get there. That's all I'm saying.
So,
I don't know.
mhm.
Just-
She's an optimist.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so I can move on then if we're not gonna,
All right.
I'm not gonna do that today. The Trail Study Committee, the survey responses have been posted online. So if you want to see what people responded with, I think there were over a little over 200 responses, 212 or no responses. The committee reviewed the preliminary trail alignments for both Baker's Acres and the Chartiers Creek trails, and I will send that all around. I meant to do that already. It's not really ready for public consumption yet because we're not sure they're not sure what they're gonna do yet. And so I wanna send that to everybody in the committee, or everybody on council. Then the next meeting regarding that is gonna be on August 25th at 6 p.m. And I do wanna note too, Larry will talk about this as well, that starting next week, the beginning of the Creekside Trail will be closed for a school project. So, and that has some minor effect, but very little on the trail alignment. So we can talk about that in the future, but that's the update with the trail committee. Any questions? Okay. The next thing, hiring a crossing guard. I'd like to get approval to hire or the chief actually would like to get approval to hire Carol Riley for the position of crossing guard. So I'd like a motion to approve the hiring of Carol Riley for the position of part-time substitute crossing guard as recommended by the chief of police, Richard Ford.
So moved.
Ms. Compatello,
Second.
Mr. Chandler. Any questions or discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes.
You. And then the last item on my list, this was something that we had advertised to repeal the EEO board, the Equal Opportunity Board that we have. And we had some pushback from some residents. We sat down and talked to them. And we'd like to, I think we're gonna now look at reconsidering that and not just repealing the whole ordinance, but instead maybe repealing part of it and changing some of the language. And so at this time, I'd just like to get back to everybody once we've reviewed it in committee and had a chance to look at the good points that the folks made and move forward with that. So that is, with that being said, that is the end of my report.
Let me just add that the only reason that that was being looked at all was not to undo the intent of it, but because we found that there was a stronger mechanism to enforce it if we did it a different way. So there was not, we'll continue exploring the right language and the right way to do it, but there is no intent to undo the intent behind it.
All right, engineers report, Mr. Keenan.
All right, good evening. First item is the Broadhead Sewer Separation Project. This project's anticipated start date is Monday, August 18th. We were waiting on the contractor's construction schedule to verify that. We didn't get that at the beginning of the week, but we did get it the next day. And did confirm that Monday they will be starting to mobilize for the project on the 18th. And did show an ending date of October 21st of next year, 2026. That's the update. Yeah.
Right before Halloween. There you go.
Yeah. Next is the Perrine Street Sewer Project. No update from the city on the resolution of taking, but an eminent domain ordinance is to be considered at the next council meeting, the 28th.
And just to clarify, we can pass that ordinance without having the resolution passed at the city and then once the city.
Somebody from the solicitor's office did reach out to us, yes, so we talked, I think Anna talked to them this morning.
Oh.
But I did not get an update from, because she had some other things going on, so.
Okay.
But no, positive movement, so I'm hopeful that we'll have some kind of answer from them by the time we're voting in 2 weeks.
Right.
Good. Next is Ewing Road. we did receive an updated cost estimate for looking at the road and repairing just the minimal areas, the areas that are immediately affected, and some additional drainage improvements. We did that in the Monday infrastructure meeting, and we realized that there is a $350,000 project is possible for fixing the existing road and opening it up back up to the traffic. And this also showed that this was the cheapest option for doing the existing road and opening it back up. We did look at additional grants for this as well, including the MTF, Multimodal Transportation Fund. The municipality can apply for that for their transportation projects. That window is closed for the year, but it is an annual grant program, and we can apply as early as March next year, if that is the path.
So I'll just add, because we did talk about giving a bit of an update on this. I know there's been a lot of interest and a lot of talk about what we can do down there. We've been giving updates to council about the different options being explored, and as of a few months ago, we had some initial cost estimates that looked at, we were starting at $500,000, and we had some options that went up to $1 million. And this has been taking some time because it takes time to do really the detailed analysis. As we get a little closer to having options, then we decide what to proceed with and do more detailed analysis. And one of those analyses done was a traffic study to look at the actual quantity of traffic. And that actually changed what our options are. There's the traffic study showed that there was a lot less traffic, even on a very busy game day, than was initially anticipated, which allowed the engineers to go back to the option of repairing the road, keeping it as two ways. Because of the amount of traffic that it carries, it can actually be done with a different kind of approach that would make it perfectly safe for that amount of traffic, no problem, with that $350,000 ballpark, still initial estimate, but substantially less. They thought initially that they would need to make the road a lot wider, which was going to cause the higher costs. So that is the big update. That initial analysis has let us get into realizing we have some more economical options, and so we're continuing to explore that.
Yep. Moving on to the C20 sewer separation project. Currently, it's at the Linden Avenue and Steuben Street intersection. It's actually just past that on Steuben, approaching the West Crafton intersection. Borough was recently alerted that PA American water contractor Wilson Excavating will be doing a water line relocation at the West Crafton Steuben Street intersection, which is also the termination point for this sewer project. That work is to be done all at night, expected to last a week, and will begin this Monday, August 18th. Some other notes on the project: the expected project completion remains November 12th this year. The issue of the pool developing on the southeast corner of the Steuben Duncan intersection. Solution is in place to rebuild, in the works to rebuild the ramp and modify the asphalt in front of the ramp and give better drainage to the nearby inlets that are there. Still waiting to get an estimate back from the contractor on what this additional cost will be. Another note is the crosswalks are being proposed at all the crossings at the same intersection. Reached out to PennDOT and got their okay with this. It's likely that this work will take place after the new ramp is installed. Moving on to the Public Works building. Construction is ongoing. Interior underground conduit underwent inspections recently. I believe that was last Friday. Other than that, there hasn't been much work or activity down there the past 2 weeks. But upcoming work includes installing the oil separator, finishing the concrete floors, and placing the site utilities with the help of the Public Works Department. And another note with this project is the discussion of a possible fire hydrant installation down there at the building. Right now, at this time, we just have an initial estimate of approximately $70,000 to do this. On top of that, there's also a $500 a month fee just for the vault that will have to go in down there, according to PA American Water. Right now, this is all just initial estimates, and we're still looking into more information as to the purpose of the vault and why it's required. But just some other notes on fire hydrants in the borough. It's important to note that the fire hydrants are all rented and they don't have meters attached to them, so that's why they are rented. And right now we spend, I think, around $25,000 a year just to do that. So it's the update that
And a big part of the expense of this is running a 6-inch water line. We were only having to run a 2-inch, not knowing that we needed a hydrant there, which is a big part of the expense of that $70,000. So we're gonna look into those additional costs and come back, but it was recommended by the chief, Chief Crown, and all of our research has shown that yes, you should have you need to have a fire hydrant within 400 feet of the launch of a building like that. And currently, it would be to the corner would be 650 feet
Right.
to the nearest one, so.
Moving on to Steuben Linden intersection improvements. The remaining work included removing the previous pole foundations and also installing final ADA ramp there at the intersection. Site visit recently turned out that the foundations have been removed, but the ADA ramp still needs to be installed. No word yet on when that will be going in. Next, the Linwood Noble Parks update is the cost estimate analysis for the Linwood and Noble Parks are currently being developed to include baseline and proposed improvements to be used for good, better, and best options. Right now, those are still being developed. Next, the 2025 Crafton CCTV program. Contractor has completed all the contract work. Want to give a recap on why this work is being done. The CCTV contract work is performed annually and allows us to identify structural integrity of the combined and storm sewers within the borough. And also, there's also light cleaning that is done in the areas to help maintain the flow and to help the cameras also get further access within the pipes. It also allows us to identify defects within the system and prioritize potential issues from high to low. And also like to add, this is also the foundation to the sewer O&M program as well. Moving on is the Crafton O&M repairs program. Last week I presented a summary of the work locations, but the update on the 3 contracts remains similar. Contract A, excavation, still ongoing coordination to determine the start date. Contract B, manhole to manhole lining. Work is not scheduled to begin until late summer or early fall. And contract C, the spot lining, they still have approximately 10 repairs left remaining to be completed. Next is the road paving and brick plan. As mentioned prior, the brick road assessment planning has begun and is underway. The ongoing process will take several months. A draft outline of the Brick Streets plan was presented on Monday at the infrastructure meeting. And that has been completed and discussed. And has also been uploaded to the council OneDrive for review. There's also wanted to note that this year priority areas will be the focus of the plan, while a 5-year plan is the long-term goal. And looking to get out next week to start the field work for the plan. Next is regarding the road paving as part of the Broadhead Sewer Separation Project. Recap of the affected streets: Belvedere, Broadhead, Coulter, North Emily, Park, Warren, Cornell, and North Linwood will get brick trench repair, and Crafton Boulevard between Broadhead and the trail entrance. And last item is the permit applications newly received for street utility work in the borough. One applicant, Duquesne Light Company, approximate location 41 Division Street, and they are looking to replace utility pole number 73517. And that includes the engineer's report this evening.
Any questions or comments for Larry? I mean, we have 11 items on the engineers, which are a lot of projects going on. Haven't seen the brick draft report that Larry put together. It's extremely well done. So if you haven't, from a council perspective, taken a look at that, there is no information relative to whether the brick streets are in good shape or not, but it's a draft and it's going to be extremely extensive, and we'll make that public, obviously, once it gets out there. But focus, like he said, focusing on the areas that really need it, the bricks that are just in huge disrepair. But very exciting from the project standpoint and to get this assessment. So really good job in putting that together, Larry.
I was just,
The whole background and history and the whole framework of the plan is done, and it's now entering into the conditions analysis to fill in. a page of conditions analysis for every stretch of brick.
Yeah, I was just thinking as we went through all this list, and I'm thinking about the development over the years, about how much detail, updating, clarity, transparency that we have developed, that this council and our administration has developed compared to what council knew about what was going on, or what the community knew about what was going on, if you're going back, 6 and 8 years ago. So I just continue to be impressed with it.
Yeah. Good job. And
So
for-
anybody that gets, tired of listening to Larry, it's like, no, we know what's going on.
Well, we never get tired of Larry, but he will be having an article in the newsletter coming about the sewer repairs. So for anybody that doesn't have knowledge about how those work or what he was talking about relative to the sewer players, which include linings and fixing of those repairs, there will be a really interesting article. And last year we did a whole demonstration of what happened. So
I do have one quick question in regards to the replacing the utility pole, and if this is an offline thing, just let me know. But I am curious. We had a couple, and I'm guessing it was Duquesne Light that did them, replaced utility poles on Union Avenue in front of my home, and they didn't take the old ones out. Is that typical practice, or should they be taking those out eventually?
Oh, no, they'll take them out eventually.
Okay.
They put in you said Duquesne Light's putting in this pole, the
Sure.
new pole, they put it right next to the old one. And immediately they're gonna put their new infrastructure onto that new pole.
Yeah, they did that pretty quick.
Right, yeah,
Right.
they
They
put the
did.
pole themselves. right?
Yeah.
So now it's a matter of getting the other utility companies out there, Comcast, Verizon, to transfer their utility infrastructure onto these new poles.
Got it. Okay.
And it's common sight around the borough right now.
Okay. Sounds good. I was just curious.
Yeah, so if you look at any electrical pole, the highest thing on the pole is the electricity.
Okay.
And then the communication is the lowest thing. So Comcast,
majority of
Verizon,
everything.
those are because they're less dangerous.
Yeah.
Right, so.
Okay. Thank you.
especially for the tree side, the top one is whenever you're looking at trees, the top one is the electric, everything else is not hazardous from a tree standpoint, so something we learned in the Shade Tree Commission there. Okay. Anything else? All right, thank you, Larry. Community and Economic Development report.
Right,
Right.
and I'd like to thank Larry for all the work he's been doing on those reports. They're really well done. He's also working on a manual for Public Works that's really nicely done, so thank you. Moving on, the Community and Economic Development report, Planning Commission, the next meeting is August 26th at 6:30. As it normally scheduled. I'm not sure what's going to be on the agenda for this month, but that will be happening at that point. The zoning ordinance, as we've discussed, was sent to Allegheny County Department of Economic Development on July 25th for their review process. So they do have that. They did receive it that Friday. And we're waiting on they did mention that they received it, so we're waiting on their response related to that. And then the last thing on this part of the agenda is the ADO Board Belvedere, which I've already teased that I was going to talk about a few times. We committed or we budgeted $200,000 to do this work. But now that we've cleaned out the house and we had Matt, who has done some flips himself, take a look at the property, and we do think that we can sell it in its current state to a potential developer. But being that it's a conservatorship, we have told the courts that we will bring it back up to a state. So we're gonna go back to the court and see if they're willing to let us sign a contract with a flipper, essentially, to sell it to them with the idea that if they don't repair it quickly enough or within a thing, that we can claw it back. We've never done this process before, but we think this is an easier way. We'd like to do it this way as opposed to just investing the borough's 200,000. We don't really want to be in the market of building of developing out houses. If we can do it in a faster and easier way, we're going to try to do that. The advantage there's several advantages to this. One would be that we don't have to tie up all the capital. The other is faster for us. And then we can move on to another house. Move on to the next house to do this with. The advantage to the flipper is they don't have any of the encumbrances of the liens. They don't have any of the risk. This house that we're looking at had a $650,000 judgment on it that would have never sold at sheriff's sale. So by us doing it this way, we may be able to get that house back on the market even quicker and with less commitment from the borough. So we're gonna look at that process first. And if the judge is willing to let us do that, then we're gonna move in that direction. And that concludes the community and economic development report.
Any questions?
If typically in a conservatorship, do you have to bring it back up to a certain level? So in the future, we would likely not, like, we couldn't do another one and say, we're just gonna clean it up and then sell it to a developer.
No, we could. What we would do is we would tell them that this is the process we want to do. Which
Okay.
is, we want to go in, make, clean it out, make sure that what is there is sellable, like it doesn't have any, because sometimes when you clean out a house, you find out, oh, the foundation is damaged or something is wrong with it that we didn't anticipate. This allows someone like Matt or someone else who's a developer to go in and say, oh, look, this is a good house. I couldn't do it because it was encumbered, but now that it's not encumbered, I'll absolutely do it. And so that's the goal. So we should be able to do this, but we haven't tried it before, so we're not sure.
And with this path, the borough would still be making back the investment that we put in. And we would be getting it back on the tax rolls.
Correct. It wouldn't be as immediate as if we did it, but we're also not spending the time of doing work.
Yeah, again, the overall thing here is we're taking the house that was in really bad shape, paying no tax money and bringing it to a much better. So for the neighbors that live next to it or around it, and for the community, we're getting rid of the blight. And I always would agree, whatever way possible that we can do that, but fiscally possible, that's should be done.
And I think we're talking with Mr. Tedesco. We could also do things like put timelines in agreements with the flipper saying you have to commit to 8 months or something like that. So to get back in the market and well, the flipper wants to make money anyway, so they're gonna get it back to as it can, but we have some tools to make sure it gets back quicker and back on the taxpayer rules.
Would we have any kind of way of having some quality assurance, or once we sell it, it's out of our control?
No, we do with the clawback contracts. Absolutely. Yep.
Once it's sold,
Mhm.
once it's sold, then
Yeah.
that we're out. We control things until that happens.
When you say sold, are we talking about resold?
Yeah, we're talking about not sold to the flipper.
Correct. I'm saying when the flipper
Or sell?
ends up selling it, then it's out of our hands.
Yeah, because the reason we have some control is because of the conservatorship.
Mhm.
Yep.
I got it. Thank you.
Yep.
Standing committee reports, can we just check right before to see if Erin's on?
She had asked too that, she said that I could give her report if she wasn't.
She's not on yet.
She's not now.
Or finance, administration, sustainability, Mr. Vogt.
The Finance Administration and Sustainability Committee has not met since the last council meeting. But I will have another more in-depth report at the next council meeting. But just something I noticed the other day is that Jordan Tax Service has launched a new website with a payment portal that does work pretty well because I used it.
No.
There's a couple things that I think they could have improved for usability, but overall, when I went to it, I had a moment where I was concerned that I was on the wrong site. So hopefully, all the taxpayers will, this will be a
wow.
welcome update for everybody. So, and with that, unless there's any questions, that's the end of my report.
Oh, wow. It's green and yellow. Oh, wow. That's very nice. Okay. Okay. All right. I think this is, well, it's going in and out. Infrastructure and land use, Ms. Comptello.
The Infrastructure and Land Use Committee met earlier this week. There was quite a lot on the agenda, as is evidenced from Larry's updates to council. Some of the big things he already updated. We talked about the Ewing Road options, the Broadhead schedule. The only things on the agenda for me to add are the energy audit. We did finally receive the results from that. On the agenda here, it says August 7th. It actually was shared with the committee members just today. So we'll need to take some time to read through that. At first glance, it looks nice. It sounds like the Borough building actually performed better than we were expecting compared to the 3 municipal buildings that were analyzed. But we'll take some time to look through that report and the results of the audit and see what updates are recommended for us to consider. And then the other item is the DCED $325,000 grant for pedestrian and related improvements to our business district. This one, we've had Gateway do some additional analysis on some of the ideas that we had discussed publicly and with the Planning Commission and the Business Development Subcommittee. The idea of lighting was one of the big ones that some nice street lighting that was highly desired, and also one of the things on the list that we're allowed to spend that money on that takes a little bit more engineering and construction effort. Some of the other things, bike racks, trash cans, very popular ideas. Those are kind of givens that we can do those. But in doing some analysis on the lighting, the results we did talk about at the infrastructure committee, there are a lot of constraints that we weren't anticipating, and in looking at where we can actually fit lighting, it was kind of sporadic and was not as consistent as we were hoping. So we're going back to do a bit more assessment of what are our options for what can fit where, to bring a bit of a better menu of how can we spend that money. Again, some of the ideas, there's a limited list of what we can spend it on, things that were included in the grant. And some of those items that are very popular, trash cans, those are kind of givens. We'll be able to do those. And what we're deciding is some of the more expensive items, like the purchase and then especially the installation of a street light is a little bit more expensive, a lot more expensive compared to a trash can. So that is the update. The placement of those was not as straightforward as we hoped. So we're doing some additional analysis. That is all for my report.
How long do we have for, when's the deadline to use that grant money? It's a while, okay.
Yeah, we just got the funding this year and there's no match. So it's just money we get to use once we figure out how we can best use it in places that the underground constraints allow us to do it.
Communication recreation, Mr. Hodes.
The Communication and Recreation Committee has also not met since the last council meeting, but as always, we'll go over the upcoming community events. So Fall Fest is going to be on Saturday, September 27th. Halloween mini golf pop-up 21 and over event is on Saturday, October the 11th. Celebration of Lights, Saturday, December the 6th. And the Holiday House Tour on Sunday, December 14th. Some ongoing events. Again, the Coffee, Creativity, and Community is every Saturday from 12 to 3 p.m. At the library. The Yoga in the Park is every Saturday, June through August at 10 a.m. and it is free. I will look into the, is it Ms. Reagan, I believe? I had notes.
Yeah.
She had asked about extending that. So I will add that to my notes for the Communication and Recreation Committee meeting so that we can look into whether we're able to possibly extend into the fall or whether we're able to start earlier in the spring or possibly both. Mini golf is still open every Friday and Saturday from 7 p.m. to 9 p.m. I don't have an end date on that. Do we know?
Labor Day.
It's Labor Day, okay.
And then it will open up for spooky golf. And it's
So Labor Day weekend is the final weekend for mini golf. Fall newsletter coming in October. We're, as the president mentioned, we are gathering articles at this point in time. The Little Free Library in Crafton Park, there was a proposal from an Eagle Scout who will install and pay for the books and supplies in this little library. And then the Crafton Library will maintain it on a regular basis. So if you've seen it, those are the ones that's like a little box basically, right? And there's a couple dozen books in there maybe, and the idea is take it and bring it back and honor system. So that's pretty neat that an Eagle Scout is gonna do that project.
And I didn't put a motion on.
Yeah, I was
but
gonna say.
Right, but we probably should get a motion
Yeah.
that to approve that. I wanted to check with council to make sure it's okay. I don't know that we have an exact location for it in the park. But they said they would maintain it, so I think it's a great opportunity to give an Eagle Scout, or I'm sorry, was it an Eagle Scout, an Eagle
Yep.
Scout to the opportunity to have a project, and the community gets a free library, so. I don't know if you want to call for a motion or.
I had in my notes and there were a few things I was curious about in terms of, I didn't see the proposal itself. I'm curious what his timeline is, also like what the.
Reese, do you know about this project?
No.
No?
Oh,
okay, okay.
Is looking to do it.
Okay, I was gonna see
can't
if you knew
recall.
any of that.
We can have them, I mean, Beverly, who is the new librarian, the new library director. What had talked about coming to council anyway, we could have her come to the next council meeting
Yeah.
if you want, and. Maybe the Eagle Scout would come too and do a little presentation on what the thing is, and we can go from there.
Okay,
Right?
yeah, so for our next meeting, have Beverly and the Eagle Scouts come.
Yep.
Okay. And then we can possibly put a motion on there for that. Okay.
And the only other thing that is not on the agenda here, I know last week was the Crafton Rotary's Llama Plop event in Crafton Park. I was unable to attend. Aaron was able to attend. Pam wasn't able to attend, and I didn't hear if anybody else got to attend. So I was just
Oh, yeah.
curious.
Several audience members, and I was there. We got to know each other very well in line. I can't see Greg there. But yeah, they'll make improvements. I talked to Sue, the llama or alpaca were gone very quickly. I think they can only stay for a short period of time, but the food truck, it was one food truck with a couple people. So it was, I mean, I was in line for 2 hours. I think a lot of people were in line for a long period of time. Yeah.
And I thought I was doing a good deed for our officers when I gave them my ticket. They probably never got any dinner that night.
But what was nice is that as you wait in line, you got to meet a lot of people. There were other food trucks there. And then the concerts in the park were right there too. So there were a lot of people attending the concerts in the park, and then you could just stay there afterwards. But I think they'll look, because prior years were volunteers from the Rotary that just had food already there, put it in bags. That didn't go so well because they got exhausted. It was really hot. There's probably a need for more than one food truck delivering the food there, because they made it on site. So once you came up with your ticket, they made it right then and there, and that took a lot of time. So more to come, and then the raffle baskets and everything else were there, but they stayed till everybody got served. So that was a good thing.
That's it for the communication recreation report.
Thank you. All right, board commissions recruiting, Ms. Comptella.
So current open positions, we do have one position open on our Civil Service Commission. It's an alternate seat, a 6-year term that will be expiring in February 2029. We do encourage anyone interested to please put your name in for that. We would love to fill that spot, Civil Service Commission alternate seat. You can apply at craftonborough.gov/boards commissions. That's the only current one. Upcoming, we've been sharing this for a while. It's still a few months away, but years, coming to a close ever sooner. The Zoning Hearing Board will be having 2 seats becoming available January 1st, 2026. 1 3-year term regular seat and 1 3-year term alternate seat. So that's the Zoning Hearing Board, and same thing, apply at craftonborough.gov/boards commissions. If you're interested in applying, that one will become open in January. And that's all.
Thank you. Our upcoming council meeting is August 28th, which is 2 weeks from now at 7 o'clock. We also have Fall Fest, as Mike had mentioned, on September 27th. That is typically our biggest event now of the year, that with many people attending, lots of activities going on, and that'll be 1 to 6 on the 27th. And then pool hours will change for this month due to some of the kids going back to school. So you can see the pool hours on the agenda and on our website. And then remember, Labor Day will be the last weekend for the pool. Thank you. Anybody else have any other items?
Do we know, and I haven't checked in a couple days, the previous Crafton website with the .com and the redirect in the event that somebody tries to go to the .com still?
Yeah, it still isn't working properly. We are canceling, we're going to, and I haven't done this yet, but we have, apparently the old one wasn't turned off. We have now done that, but I'm gonna cancel the account, but we needed to make sure that everything was off the old site. We still, Dennis doesn't have a clue why it happened. We haven't been able to figure out why it happened. And we do want to move, because we do want to move the emails to alt.gov. And we've been kind of waiting for this to really work itself out. I've been able to get it so that Google doesn't allow it to pop up in a search anymore for the most part. I've been doing it a page at a time when I think about it. But that's the only solution we've had at this point. We just don't know why, what it did.
So we're going to close the other one. Does that mean that we won't have any ownership of it anymore?
Yeah, I mean, it's a Squarespace account.
Uh-huh.
No,
The domain?
No, we will still have the domain.
We're
We own
keeping the domain.
Yes, yeah, we own the domain. This is just the Squarespace application itself. Yes.
As long as we're keeping the domain.
Yes, we're keeping the domain. Yep. And we own a few domains that are similar, so it all get forwarded to that. So
Just spread the word, craftonborough.gov.
All right, at this time, citizens may address the Crafton Borough Council on any issue. Only residents and taxpayers of the Borough of Crafton will be permitted to address the council. Speakers will be permitted to speak for a maximum of 3 minutes. Groups of people will be required to designate a spokesperson to represent them before the council, who may speak for a maximum of 5 minutes. Council has the option to respond or not at the end of the address. The solicitor is our assigned timekeeper. Please state your name and physical address for the record. So for anybody here, just raise your hand. Greg?
it times that's got to put, yeah, it turns itself off after about 10 minutes. Our battery.
Just going out of this world. Greg Wozniak, 1773 Bar Avenue. The barbecue was a great time. You did get to know people pretty good when you're standing next to them for within a period of time, but it was still a nice time. With people had great patience, so appreciated that opportunity. Just thought about this, Jim. I just want to tell you about the sewer in the back of on Rush Alley.
Oh, yeah.
The holes are working great for allowing water in, but it's also allowing a fair amount of sewer gases to escape. So kind of something maybe to think about. The Montour paper I was looking for Crafton news in here. There's limited, if any. So maybe we can try to be on top of this newsletter that comes out from the school district. Yeah. So there's a real nice section in here about Fall Festival fever that really highlights things nicely, not criticism, just a comment. And for the land bank, I was kind of hoping for more detail before a vote, but it is what it is. But I was hoping that the council could look at the it seems like we might have a little less control than we would have in a conservatorship type thing. So just hoping that council could maybe put our own internal fences around some of the things that the land bank may be exposing us to. So those are my comments. Appreciate all your hard work, and thank you very much. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Okay. Reese has a. Yeah, I was just gonna say, because I'm looking at some comments. The Rush Alley is the one to look at the gases for that. And in Montour or in Carlington, I'm not sure about. Because we do have our own newsletter too, but how we get into there.
We can definitely ask them.
Okay.
This is Montour and Carlington together. They put a.
Not one tour. It's actually.
it is.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah,
It's Crowlton Montour School District.
Cover the big area,
Yeah,
which is kind of nice, because then I think would be like all through Scott, I mean.
right, all the way to Robinson, all that, yeah.
It talks about kids that live in here.
Oh, well, okay.
I can share with you whatever after.
All right, Reese.
Hello, everyone. Reese Smith, 58 Coulter Street. But I wanted to just ask a couple questions about the I forget what street, but the whatever property is in conservatorship. I really like the idea of the borough not having to spend their own money and become a construction contractor. So that sounds like a really cool possibility. So my one question would be, if we pursued that method, what would be the method of like selling to a developer? Would that just be like a public auction of some sort, sort of like a sheriff sale-less thing? But and I guess the follow-up question to that would be then, would it just sort of be set on scene? Would you guys offer like maybe like an open house day for developers to tour and look around and look at it a bit before they did stuff? So my question there.
Yeah,
Go ahead.
That's all.
Oh, that's it? Okay, all right, thank you.
I could address it. It's the court order determines how that
Oh, okay.
process goes, and the court order that we have doesn't require any public bidding, et cetera. So that's typically how they go. It's just, you just are allowed to proceed as if you're a private entity and not a public entity for those projects.
Cool. Thank you.
So it would be listed like on MLS and through a broker.
You could do that, you know.
Good. Anyone else? All right. Anyone online, please raise your hand. Okay. All right, seeing none, meeting is adjourned at 8:43 PM. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.